started on it. We can't stop now. We've been exposed.
Fine, go ahead.
We can wait. Just don't let the start of the show keep you back there.
Okay.
Okay.
There they are.
And we are live as it is Wednesday night at 9:30ish. And Dave, Alan, myself are here. Locke, of course, is still playing lawman down in Lawville, down there. And so it's the last episode of November. And we're already thinking very excitedly about the Advent calendar, of which mine is not too far away. And of course, it'll also mark the close anniversary of our putting a bottle of Thor's Hammer on the shelf.
Yes.
Thor's Hammer? And what's the other one? And the red one that has the racks on the top that I can't think of the name of.
Yes.
The old cellar dweller.
Cellar dweller, yes. So that's sitting around waiting for us to partake. But of course, that's next year. We can't do it before the end of the year. So thank you for coming and checking us out. This week was Dave's pick. Dave, tell us about the beer. It totally was not Dave's pick.
Nice try. I would not have chosen this one, to be honest.
Well, I only chose this one because it's called Naughty Hildegard. It's by Driftwood. It's an ESB. And I honestly like the artwork. This is actually the piece that I saw when I first saw it on the shelf. And I had to turn the bottle to find what the name was. And then I saw, oh, it's a Driftwood beer. Okay, I think I've seen this one around. So, I thought we'd give it a whirl because we haven't done it yet. So,
well, let's give it a whirl.
And an ESB, of course, is a extra sexy beer, better known as. I was just thinking for a moment this was a twist top. No, it's not. I opened the bottle. I have no glass. Put a glass. Hang on. Whoa.
All right, I'm opening up mine, and we will maintain the show here while Shane steps away for a minute to get his glass.
All right. We'll hold down the fort.
And by the way, we are down in our household. We are down to the last two tulip glasses because we had an accident the other day. It sounded more like a crash, bang, boom, and a tinkle of glass, and then there was much lamenting.
Oh, that's too bad.
So I'm
all right,
pouring these out here.
I'm pouring.
Hey, Peanut Gallery.
So tell us about the Naughty Hildegard. Like, what is it?
Hang on, the Peanut Gallery's making demands again. Now look at that. Look at the head. Here you go. You get the most head there. Story. Get out of here.
Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, it smells like an ESB. Now, essentially, apparently the Peanut Gallery loves it. Now, essentially, this beer is an ESB, which is a high alcohol beer that is supposed
what does
to.
ESB stand for?
It's supposed to extra sexy beer. What do you mean?
It's extra special bitter.
Yes, it is an extra special bitter. But essentially, these are supposed to have, this one has carbonation, but I know that a lot of them tend to have very little carbonation. But essentially, it's a beer that is supposed to replicate a bitter that you get in the UK, from what I remember, because, that's how it rolls. But essentially, again, ESBs tend to be all over the place, but extra strong beer is pretty much the thing that evens it out in North America anyway. But essentially, it's just a pale ale that gives you. Look, you can't really see the color. But look at that. Look at that. So, but overall, have you guys? We've done ESBs before, although if I bring up the spreadsheet, because that's how I like to roll. I don't think we've actually done too many ESBs at all.
No, I can't remember if doing one ever. I think this is the first.
Let
Yeah,
me
I think
look.
so.
I know that we've done one, but I might have marked it as
tonight.
an ale. We did an ESB from Great Lakes Brewing. Really? I don't think so. I don't agree with that. No, that's to shoot. Actually, you know what? I don't think we have. I mean, we've done some things that are pretty damn close. But I don't. What was Trooper? Do you remember what Trooper was? I think wasn't it a bitter?
I think it was just an ale.
Just an ale. But essentially, I mean, the big thing with bitters is that they tend to be strong and they tend to be really like not. There's not a whole lot of hoppy kind of goodness that us West Coasters really kind of love. So it's just a mild little bit.
It's grapefruit.
It's good. I like it.
It's grapefruit. I do believe that, gentlemen, that I do get a special hint of, how shall I say, grapefruit from the aftertaste of once you've washed it around your tongue a little bit and let a little bit dribble dribble down your throat. Then of course you get the grapefruit essence, because grapefruit allows us to completely encapsulate our experiences. You see, grapefruit is not just a fruit; it's more of an experience where you could love it. You could make love to it. You could touch it in all the dirty places, and then. Wow.
Okay, that went off the rails pretty fast.
But anyway, overall, bitters are quite popular and have been around for a very long time. Some people would claim it's the first beer. I think that's hogwash, but there you go. So, extra special bitters, extra sexy beer, overall, is sort of how I like to discuss it. So, now Driftwood Brewery. Where's Driftwood, boys? We've done Driftwood before.
Victoria.
Really? No, they're not in Victoria. Really?
Yes, they are.
Are they going to be at that thing in Victoria that's coming up soon? That's on Friday, 2 days from now.
I believe they are. Yes, indeed, they are.
So, just to give you an idea of how much Driftwood we've liked and enjoyed, Driftwood has made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 appearances on our fabulous little show. Speaking of which is we've had a few weeks back we did the Cry Me a River Ghost, and then a few weeks before that we did the New Growth Pale Ale, which definitely does not taste like this, which I'm very pleased about. I was a bit worried about that. We did the Blackstone Porter sometime whenever the hell episode 81 was, and then we had one episode, episode 58. Actually, we tried to get, I think, the same Driftwood, but we ended up getting 3 different Driftwoods: the Hoppenfeis, the Son of the Morning, and the White Bark. So we've pretty much covered almost the Driftwood's entire beer list. Is that safe to say? Let's see.
And we still have their the old Cellar Dweller is a Driftwood beer. So we still have that.
We did Fat Tug once, I think.
Yes, we did.
So Fat
Good
Tug,
golly,
we've
yes,
done.
we did.
Farmhand, we have not done. And Arcus, we have not done. And Crooked Coast, which is, I think, a newer selection from them. So it's a Pilsner. Yeah, Pilsner. So yeah, we've actually, wow, we've had a lot of beer over the last couple of years. Congratulations, Dave. You're like us now. One of us. One of us.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about the Friday event. This week is the Victoria Craft. No, what is it called?
Well, it's called
It's called something else. I keep
Christmas
wanting to say it's like
Craft Beer Show.
Christmas Craft Beer Show, which is happening in Victoria. That myself and Alan will be attending.
Not Dave.
Not Dave, because he's a wuss. But essentially, yeah, we're just going to go there and see what. I'm assuming it's all Victoria-based people. I don't actually know.
No, it's not.
It isn't. Well, tell me more.
Okay, so I'm just kind of going through. There's quite a few breweries that are involved here. I'll just kind of go through. Interestingly, I've never seen these guys at a craft beer fest, but the BC Tree Fruit Cider Company.
Ooh.
Ooh. You know, BC, you know, it's got the picture of the leaf and it's got BC in it. I don't know. Brickworks Cider. There's a couple of cider places. Cannery Brewing from Penticton. Britannia Brewing Company. I don't know where they're from. Doan's Craft Brewing, Category 12. Faculty Brewing, Fuggles Warlock. Fernie. Granville Island. Moody. Longwood from Nanaimo. Mount Arrowsmith, whom we talked about a couple weeks ago. Mount Begbie. Red Arrow is another one we talked about recently. They're the small brewery from Duncan. Red Truck, Shane, maybe you can get a ride with them. Riot Brewing. I still haven't tried any of their stuff. Another one that I've never heard of before is called Smuggler's Trail Cask Works.
Interesting.
And two new breweries that opened up in Souk are going to be there. One is called the Souk Brewing Company, and the other one is the Souk Oceanside Brewery.
Interesting.
So Souk is represented now. Stanley Park Brewing, Steamworks, Strange Fellows.
Hey, Souk also goes by SOB, right?
That's right. They do. Townsite, White Sails from Nanaimo, Yellow Dog, and several others. I haven't listed all of them here. I just kind of picked out a few here and there. Now, I don't know how many beers each one is going to have. I'm assuming they're going to be Christmassy kind of seasonal beers. It's probably not going to be regular run, but they don't say what each of these breweries are going to be offering.
Interesting.
Now, I did see a photograph of last year's event, and it was kind of, it looked interesting. I mean, of course, it's going to be in the Save on Foods Memorial Arena, which is quite a bit of a different kind of thing from Royal Athletic Park, which is like an open air field where the Great Canadian Beer Fest happens every year. And it looked quite closed in, actually. I mean, they put all this stuff around the glass and the boards from the hockey games. And you actually go out onto where the ice surface would be, and that's where the show is. And there's a lot of people in there, and it looked pretty packed in. So I'm kind of interested to see what it would be like when being in there, because this is my first year going to this. So I'm excited about it. I think it'll be good.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm behind this all the way because I think that it, is Dave's fault.
Yeah.
Dave's
not going. What a guy.
We aim to please.
Dave, I can't believe just how disappointed I am in you, Dave. It's
some of us have to work.
Yeah. Some of us. So now we're going to be going on December 1st. It's also on December 2nd, which is Saturday. We're going on the Friday. We're also supposed to start our little mini episodes for the Advent calendar, which our first beer would be on Friday as well. So we're gonna have to see how we're doing after that Christmas craft beer show and see if we want to crack open another one and do a show.
Yeah, I think that we should, because duh. We might have to record it and then post it later. You never know. But the it's definitely going to. Do you remember last year? Do you recall the pain and suffering that we put ourselves through last year? Dave wussed out, of course. Excuse me.
Because pain and suffering. Yeah.
But thank you, Dave. Yeah, no, we actually last year, I remember there were a couple days where we were suffering a bit. And I think I think it was only Wednesdays that we suffered. I think that was sort of how it was. I think if I remember correctly. I could actually go back and play it back, but memories.
No, don't bother. Yes, actually, I don't think suffer is the right word. We would meet for, maybe 10 minutes before the actual show is going to begin, and we do our little Christmas one, and then we do the actual show. I think we'll just do the same thing again.
Yeah, why not? So what about you, Dave? Are you going to be doing anything exciting in the next few days that has anything to do with beer? Are you going to be, I mean, essentially, are you going to be as cool as myself and Alan?
Well, no. We all know that.
So,
but you could join in on the Advent calendar. Interestingly, now I'm going to point out here that the Advent calendar in past years, I've always bought it when it first came out in late October. And there's always tons that are still left for sale after the start of December. And there's even quite a few available still after Christmas is done. So I didn't really feel like I needed to buy it super early this year. So my goal is to buy it this week. And I go out looking for it. And I can't find this thing anywhere. And I did a search on the BC Liquor Store website, and there was only 12 left in all of Victoria, Greater Victoria, at 3 different stores, none of which are conveniently located for me. I'm like, well, what am I gonna do to get one of these things? And then I thought, oh, Liquor Plus. Okay, so Liquor Plus near me had some left, so I managed to get it from there, luckily. But I did notice that right after that, Cascadia had put out a thing on Facebook saying that they still had some left available at their Courtney store. And I thought of you, Dave. So if you want to join in, they have some at the Courtney Cascadia.
I can't do that to myself.
All right.
Unfortunately.
Okay. Sorry to put you on the spot like that. All right.
You know what's interesting is the price of the Wonder. It's called Wonder, right? Wonderland or Wonder?
The Wonder Pack or something.
Wonder Pack, yeah. Was significantly cheaper at the BC liquor stores. Because everywhere else that I saw it was about $80. And at the BC liquor store, it was
$59.99.
5 or something. Yeah, 59. So
wow.
But I did notice today when I went to get the Hildegard, the price at the place where I go, if I can't find it anywhere else, had it on for $49. So something tells me that there must be something going on regarding that pack, because when I was at the BC liquor store, there were initially when it first came out, there were tons. Then there weren't so many, and then now they're kind of, as you were finding out, they're kind of scarce, at least in Victoria, and the price dropped significantly here. So I don't know why that is. I blame the United Arab Emirates or something.
Well, I haven't been seeing any price fluctuations in it here. No, Liquor Plus has always carried it for $59.99, and so did Cascadia. Right. So it's just the numbers, for whatever reason, it's selling well here this year. And
well, I mean, that's good. I mean, there's definitely. I mean, I talked to some people in my building today that were a bit confused as to why there's a what? I'm like, yeah, you could totally get a lot of beer. It's great, and yeah, so they were very pleased about that. But they had never heard of it before, and I think this is what, the 4th year, 5th year, maybe.
Oh no, I think 5 or 6 years.
So yeah, so it's been around for a while. It's not something completely and utterly unusual. So, you know, I was spreading the gospel earlier today. So,
well, good for you.
Good work.
Thanks, man. So our news today, or in this particular, aside from the excitement for Friday, the Montreal Gazette. Have you guys heard of this?
What is it?
The Montreal Gazette has a little story. I mean, there's also something on the CBC, I think. But essentially, Canadians want the end of provincial monopolies on beer and other goods. It's kind of general. I got to say, I have never, ever thought of the BC liquor store to be a monopoly. I guess it is, by definition. But I don't consider it to be abusing anything. But again, I don't know much about what goes on behind the curtain. What do you guys think?
In BC, it's not a monopoly. It used to be a monopoly. And then as soon as they allowed private establishments to sell beer like a BC liquor store, it became not a monopoly anymore.
Now, did that happen?
Some provinces still have monopolies.
Trying to remember, when did that happen? I can't remember. It was basically the explosion of, Liquor Plus and those sorts of things on Vancouver Island. But
before that, you always had the cold beer and wine stores.
True.
They were allowed, but after they relaxed the rules, then you started getting all of these chains and stuff.
But when was that? That wasn't that long ago. It seems to me like it was 3 years ago. But I'm sure it was longer than that.
More than that.
I'm going to guess like 10 anyways.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So apparently the Supreme Court of Canada is going to hear a case about the monopolies held by provinces on alcohol sales. And according to the poll, that doesn't actually... The Montreal Economic Institute did a poll of 1,103 Canadians, which I don't... Probably there should be,
That'd be a pretty tall poll.
But apparently 89% of respondents said they think that they should be able to purchase and transport any legal product from one province to another, because that's the other thing. Some of these provinces actually don't, they don't let stores, if a brewery in Ontario doesn't have the right ticked boxes and things, they can't send stuff abroad and that kind of thing. So,
but is it abroad? If
it's in the same country, nation? Not necessarily, no. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of happy about this. But again, I mean, it's been, as I said, it's been a while since we've not had, full on monopolies here. So I've kind of forgotten what they were like, I guess. But yeah, I think that everyone should be allowed to do this kind of stuff, because apparently the Constitution says that we're supposed to allow Canadian goods to circulate freely across the country, which totally makes sense. I mean, look at Dave. We shipped him out of province once. Oh, it was ugly. So, like he got tased at the BC Alberta border, pantsed when he crossed into Saskatchewan. I mean, it was such a nightmare.
They called Shane on his phone.
Yeah, they called me like, what should we do to him this time? Like, pants him? You have any tar? Feathers. Do you have any chickens?
You know what? You never heard what happened when I got to the East Coast, and you never will.
Well, they called me about that too. I honestly never knew that thing would fit. So anyway, God, what a horrible thought. So, but yeah, so I mean, it's kind of a sad situation, but it looks like it's going to be rectified. Most people seem to be in favor of stopping old ridiculous rules that really should be challenged by the Constitution.
Mhm.
But that doesn't stop people from giving away breweries, does it, Alan? Thanks for jumping in there, Alan. So, Alan, if you had a brewery, let's pretend for a moment you had 10 breweries. Would you give away one if you were bored with it?
Bored with it? No. If I wanted to help out, say, somebody who was up and coming, who was just getting started out, and I didn't need that brewery anymore, I might think about giving it away just to give somebody a bit of a leg up. And that's exactly what happened with the guy from Hoyne Brewing. I'm just looking at an article from whatsbrewing.ca. It was written by John Rowling, who is the production. He's a founding member of Camera BC, which is the organization that puts on the Great Canadian Beer Festival. And he had an interview with the guy from Hoyne Brewing, Sean Hoyne, as a matter of fact. And he learned how to brew from a classical brewing guy at Swan's Brew Pub here in Victoria. And when he wanted to strike out and start his own brewery, he took over some tanks from a defunct brew pub. And he quickly...
When you said tanks, I instantly thought of like tanks rolling in. Took over some tanks.
Militarized.
All right, boys.
Brewing.
We're going to be starting a brewing operation here. Everyone hit the floor.
So anyway, when Hoyne got off the ground, it actually didn't take long for him to outgrow the brewing operation that they purchased from that defunct brew pub. And there was a student that that he had been working with who was taking a very keen interest in how things were going in the brewery and actually helped work with him and stuff. And then this kid went to school in Ontario to learn how to brew beer and marketing and all that kind of stuff. And when he graduated, he wanted to start his own brewery in Ontario. And Sean Hoyne essentially took all of his old brewing equipment that he had outgrown and shipped it to Ontario for this kid to start up his own brewery. And that brewery, now I'm just going to look it up here. The kid's name was Ram. And
his name was what?
Ram. R-A-M. Ram.
What a kick-ass name.
So they've used the equipment from the old Hugo's Brew House in Victoria. And it's now the Fairweather Brewing Company in Hamilton, Ontario. And they have created a lot of very interesting brews, and they've been getting some critical acclaim in that area for the beer they've been creating. So that's kind of interesting how Sean Hoyne has achieved success and is giving back by essentially donating old brewing equipment to a former student in another province.
That is very cool. I gotta say that if I wanted to start a brewery, that would be probably the coolest thing to ever happen. Like, there's no way. Wow, that's just cool. I gotta say, I give it up.
I think it really kind of points out what we all kind of really enjoy about the craft beer industry.
Yeah,
it's not just the beer itself; it's the sort of this camaraderie that exists. Like when we go to a beer fest, it's like everybody is everybody's friend, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of, you see that a lot with the whole collaboration thing where you've got God, how many people in a given sort of brewery? Like maybe some breweries are what, 10 people, 10 employees kind of thing, or you've got breweries that are, I mean, I'm not going to count like the InBevs of the world since they're, huge, but in the craft market, there's definitely there's a need to survive. Like there's a need to befriend people because there's no reason not to, because right now the supply is nowhere near meeting the demand.
Yeah.
We would like to pretend it is, but in reality it's not. It's kind of a world where it's a world without sin, a world without beer, or something. So I don't know. You're right. I mean, of all the individuals that I know that work in that industry, it's always a hey guys, talk to so and so over whatever. He's going to give us some extra supply. Actually, I remember talking to somebody who said they got some extra like hops or something from another brewery just because they ran out. They were like, "Yep, we totally ran out. We can't do the brew." They called up another brewery and they were like, "Yeah, dude, we got like whatever the hell it was," and they sent it over. So, how often do you see that in
Sweet.
the world? I mean, not that often, and especially in business, you've got a lot of people who are basically wanting to.
Do you think that if like Molson's ran short of some hops and they called up Budweiser, like, hey guys, hey Bud, we kind of like, could you do me a solid? We ran out of hops. Can we borrow a cup of hops?
Quite honestly, I could totally see that happening. But
they show up to Budweiser's front door with their robe and their slippers on. It's like, dude, can I have like a cup of hops?
Yeah, here you go, man, a cup of hops. Yeah, totally need a cup of hops, please, because we ran out. We're gonna be, we got to do a brew tonight, and we can't piss off the people we're supplying. So
I wonder.
I would like to
wonder
think
if
that
that's part of
happens.
the reason, or partly because it's the crowd that's doing the craft beer, which is the younger crowd, I think, in a lot of ways.
I don't know. That's a good question. I really don't know. I would love to see some
people are not nice.
Well,
I just think that the younger generation has a different ethic. Is all I'm saying.
I don't know.
Are you saying you have some juvenoia, Dave?
We've already covered that.
That's true. So I mean, I hope that there is that type of camaraderie in that industry. Just because it's not, it's not fun when you're sitting around not having fun. If that makes any sense. Does that make any sense?
Sure.
Makes me think of back in the summer. I think it was back in the summer when there's that brewery here in the province that what was it? They had to dump their entire run. You guys remember that?
Oh, Persephone, I think.
No, I believe it was 4 Winds.
Was it 4 Winds?
I think so.
And anyways, everybody, it seemed, totally got behind them. Like, here you go. You need space. You need hops. You need whatever. And everybody was just jumping on the bandwagon to help them out. That was really cool. I was impressed by that too.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, it was. Yeah. I was watching earlier today. I was watching this new thing on Netflix called Between Jim and Andy, I think, where, long story short, Jim Carrey did this film that we probably have seen called Man on the Moon back in 1999, I think, and where he portrayed Andy Kaufman, who was a comic who was, I wouldn't say unbalanced, but he was one of those comics that was wanting to challenge people's perceptions about what comedy really was. and so he'd come up with these pranks or gags or whatever, and he would take it to the nth degree. So part of that was Jim Carrey decided that if he had been hired to do this job, he was really excited about doing it. It was a project he really wanted to be in. So he, in front of and behind the camera, was in character the whole time. And that included Tony Clifton, who is a very brash kind of comedic character that Kaufman invented way back when, and was basically an asshole. So they had hired this documentary filmmaker who happened to be the girlfriend of Andy Kaufman. And she had, her career had advanced where she'd become this documentary sort of well known for doing documentaries. And so she was hired to follow Jim Carrey around. And it got to the point where the studio, I guess Universal or whoever was making the film, said, no, we're not going to allow you to show this footage because you think it's funny, but people are just going to think you're a jerk because you're acting like this character all the time.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating to watch. And I if you haven't seen it, I do recommend checking it out.
All right.
Because but anyway, how did I get thinking about that?
I don't know.
Something Dave said. Dave, we covered Juvenoya.
We were talking about how we thought it was Four Winds, and then they got all the help.
But the whole thing was that even though he was acting like a jerk, everyone else was supporting him doing it. Some of them got stressed out, but they didn't want him to stop because they wanted, if that's what he needed to do to do the film, they were being essentially abused by this Clifton character from time to time, and then having this other guy character being very sort of much larger than life, but they still supported him, and I think that was kind of cool, even though the studio thought he was basically a libel suit waiting to happen. So yeah, I don't know. I just think that in tough situations where you have a lot of these breweries popping up in this province anyway, that it might be hard for a lot of them to get a foothold in building themselves into having a name and being recognized and these kinds of things. So it's kind of nice just to see that, especially with like collaborations happening across the world. Essentially, we've got some of the collaborations with breweries in BC and breweries back east somewhere. So it doesn't seem to, distance is not a factor. So,
but do you think that it's saturated? Like you kind of have to shout to be heard above the noise
in the world in general?
No, in beers.
Just the brewery section.
Just beers.
I think so. I think that, right. I don't think we're saturated, but it is because of the way the laws work, because of a lot of organizations, they can't, maybe they don't have the resources to ship beer across the country. So they don't have that ability to, because it's fine and dandy for company X to advertise online for something they can provide anywhere, like an online service or something. But breweries are a bit more landlocked because they, it's the product they have tends to be heavy. It can travel, yes, but you don't want it to travel too far. I mean, you look at, breweries in Europe that have a presence in North America that actually have companies that are brewing for them on their behalf, right? So, because the beer it's a product that goes flat, and then you don't want to send something somewhere where, it's not welcome, right? Because it tastes like shit when it gets here. So, but yeah, I mean, I just think that, to me, it seems to be a rare thing where a lot companies like this will actually work together. So I don't know. It is. I think it's unusual, but again, I've not worked in every single industry on the planet, so there you go.
Just to change direction a little bit here, and to back up the truck a little bit, let's talk about Andy Kaufman a little bit. Shane, you're obviously familiar with the Andy Kaufman lore. But what about Dave? Dave, are you familiar with Andy Kaufman lore?
Other than the fact that he did Taxi with now I forget his name.
Right.
There's the shorter gent.
Danny DeVito.
Thank you. Yeah. Other than that, and the fact that he was a comic, that's about as far as my knowledge of the man goes.
Okay. So just to give a bit of background, I just want to get some input from you guys. Andy Kaufman wasn't really a comic. He would say that he was not a comic. He would say that he was a song and dance man. And Shane was right. He was always looking for a way to sort of, how did you put it, Shane?
He wanted to push the envelope. Like if he
wanted to,
he didn't want to do what a lot of comedians were doing. He wanted to do something more. He wanted to make it more real. Like he wanted to be able to provide people with an illusion that
illusion.
Yeah, like real life reflected in a humorous sort of ridiculous way, but at that edge of, are they really?
Is this real or isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So at one point, he said he has done everything that he can do short of faking his own death. Then a few years later, he dies of cancer. And some people have speculated that this was the ultimate prank, that he faked his own death. What do you guys think?
Wow. Well, that's pretty thin to go on.
Mm-hmm.
The very tiny bit that I know of the man and his personality, that sounds like a plausible thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly doable. Plastic surgery is a thing.
So I've heard the theory that and nowhere is this plausible at all, but it's interesting to think about that Donald Trump is Andy Kaufman in disguise. Because if you think about it, Donald Trump and Andy and Tony Clifton are like copies of each other. I mean, you take Trump and put like a black wig on him and dark sunglasses and a mustache, and he's Tony Clifton.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah. I can say that
wouldn't that be the most ultimate prank to fake your own death
for 30 odd years, yeah.
For 30 years and come back saying, "Hey, I'm the president of the United States." Hey.
I actually did after I watched this thing earlier today, I went and looked up, that whole idea of, what if he had done it. And because they do at the end of the film, of the movie, they do actually kind of indicate that maybe that was what was going on.
Yeah.
But however, the coroner of wherever he died, I've forgotten exactly where, but said no, that's not right. He definitely died. However, his girlfriend, the documentary filmmaker, published a book in 2014 with Kaufman's performing partner, like the guy that played Tony Clifton when they were trying to trick people. So, Bob Zuma, yeah. And they, so they actually both wrote this book together and indicate in it that is what happened, that he did fake his death, and that the upper limit of revealing himself to the world was 30 years. But again, was that just something to, sell a book? Most likely. But one of the moments actually from the documentary part that Carrie talks about, isn't really talking about in detail, but he does talk about it, where Kaufman had a daughter. He and a girlfriend that he had when they were 16 or so. They ended up getting pregnant, and so they gave the daughter away for an adoption. And the daughter, when the film had been announced, that it was going to be made, she wanted to meet Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman and actually talk to him like they were talking, that she was talking to his dad. So,
whoa,
yeah, and he doesn't go into great detail, but what kind of, when do you get that chance, not just as somebody wanting to talk to somebody who's portraying their dead parent, but as that performer, being having that request being made, like, hi, I'd like to, come meet you. But I'd like to, I think the request was that she wanted to meet him alone. Like, she didn't want to have anyone else there. So the film crew was not allowed. The people making the documentary weren't allowed. So, what does that, the whole premise of that performance of that film was part of Carrey's. That when he did that movie, his career kind of changed a bit. And if you see him now talking to, being interviewed and things, he's a very different man. He's gone through some, realizations about reality and those kinds of things. But yeah, I don't know. That would just mess with my mind if I was a performer and a request was made of me like that. How would you deal with that? Like, would you stay in character and pretend to be a dead person? Like, I don't know. That's so bizarre, but so unique as well.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. The responsibility that you would be taking on in doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here, Dave, put on this wig.
I hope he did.
I'm going to call you Hildegard.
I hope he did right.
From what I understand, he from all he said, which was very little, I don't know, it was kind of a strange.
He wants to portray Andy and keep up the illusion for the daughter, but at the same time, he doesn't want to say or do the wrong thing.
No, it would totally mess my brain.
He has a responsibility to leave her with a positive impression, even if he feels deep down that maybe real Andy wouldn't have.
The one thing I actually did see in this part was the Kaufman's, what was his name? Lawler, the wrestler guy.
Yeah.
Do you know about this, Dave? The whole wrestling thing when he wanted to wrestle women and.
No, I do not.
Anyway, long story short, he had this rivalry with a famous wrestler at the time, James or Jason
Jerry
Lawler. Jerry Lawler. And in reality, what was portrayed in the film, but also sort of confirmed by Lawler himself, is that he Kaufman was very respectful of him. Like, he was not yelling at him all the time, which happened during the making of the film, where he almost beat up Carrie. But the other thing was that he said back then, in public he would yell at me like I was his biggest nemesis, but then, but the rest of the time, no, he was this guy, and that's what you see in the film, which I thought was very cool, because you get to see a lot of that sort of thing. That sort of is the key thing that sort of reveals why his comedy was the way it was. To like stand in front of an audience and only sing the refrain of a cartoon theme song, rather than doing anything else. You just stand there waiting, and then you stop and you just stand there. Like, that was the kind of stuff. That's the kind of comedy I like, but where it makes people laugh, but makes them also feel uncomfortable, you know? And that's exactly what that whole Lawler thing was. And, that, anyway, I enjoyed it. I recommend it. And it just reminds me that, at the very end of the day, you just have to, live and be kind. You have to be friendly to people and be nice to them. And because, positive energy is a good thing, I guess. Dave, what do you think about that?
My sense it is there's enough bullshit in the world that, yes, I agree with you. Little kindness goes a long way.
I was kind of hoping you could say "suck a bag of dicks," but no. Okay, you disappointed me, Dave. Like, I just finished reading a couple days ago. I finished reading what's his face's book, Keith Richards' book titled "Life."
This is Keith Richards.
This is Keith Richards in the world. Yeah, no, he had a bizarrely interesting life. Like, the opening line of the book, I think, is something like, why did I bring the drugs to the southern states or to Alabama or whatever? But yeah, I recommend it if you ever get a chance to read it. It's a very fast read, even though it's a thick book. But yeah, I burned through that. It was hugely interesting, but was revealing to what Keith Richards is like, Sorry?
I was saying Keith Richards has burned through some things too.
Well, that's the thing, is that I mean, this is the thing, is that it's revealing to the point where you kind of do a double take, it's like, I assumed Keith Richards was that. But then you read this and it's a piece of him, of course, that's the public piece that people see. But he talks to the whole, like, the first like half of the book really jumps into sort of the 60s and the 70s when the Stones were first touring. But a lot of it goes back to his childhood, which a good biography does, or autobiography. But I listened to the audiobook, and the best part is that each chapter was read by somebody different. So like, he did the intro, and then Johnny Depp read the first, like, half the third of the book or whatever. But it was cool. It was interesting to listen to. So
I find that point actually interesting.
Yeah,
he and Depp are friends.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like, it was, and a lot of the text as well was written by some other people to kind of give their perspective of, there was this dude with hair, and it was after the Beatles, but not quite, the Summer of Love, and what the hell were they doing? And that Mick guy, wow, he could really sing. And they got into a lot of detail about the blues. Oh, read it if you're a musician of any sort, Dave. It's definitely something you'd get off on.
Cool. I'm all about getting off.
I don't know what to say, Dave. I'm really scared now. Hi, Alan. How are you?
All right.
Let's all read MASH Goes to Morocco. Which is actually a book, by the way.
Seriously?
Are you... Okay, I'll give you a brief MASH lesson. There's this author named Richard Hooker.
Good name.
Hooker.
But I don't even know
her. Which is his pen name. Anyway, long story short, he actually wrote a novel called MASH. But then he went on to write another, I want to say 15 books. Wow. I think maybe not that many, maybe 12, something like that. Where MASH goes all over the place. They go to the UK, they go to different states in the US, they go to I think they go to Vegas, they go to Morocco. But yeah, it's a very, the Korean War was only the first story that he wrote about those characters. So yeah, it's actually I have most of them on my shelf. But yeah,
Is
so
Aftermash part of that?
Aftermath has nothing to do with the books. Although I do admit that there was about, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. It was when I broke my foot. Yeah, 2013 when I broke my foot, and I was sitting on the couch for a few weeks. I watched Love Star Trek, but I also did actually go through and watch Aftermath. So really horrible, really bad quality copy. But I did watch them on YouTube, and because they had all the episodes there, so why the hell not? Gotta say, I remembered some of it too, which was weird because I remember when it was on television back in the day. I don't remember. I remember watching maybe one, but something sparked in my brain where I remembered a whole lot more. So,
Uh-oh.
what?
There's some sparks in your brain. That's usually a bad thing.
So anyway, so I
Usually
was
go see
reading
a
Maps the other
doctor.
day.
Do you smell burning toast?
I smell burning toast, and I really want to have a Slurpee right now. Which is actually not a bad thing when you really think about it. In the summertime, Slurpees. Or what are they called in the States? Freezies? Are they called Freezies there? Can't remember.
Slurpees.
Are they also
7-Eleven
called
is-
Slurpees? Are they also called
Yeah.
Slurpees down there? I thought they were called something else.
No.
Because, like, isn't it July 11th is like Free Slurpee Day, which is the
Yeah.
last time I had a Slurpee. So I remember when we got big gulps. Do you remember those days?
Mm.
I remember going to like
You still get
not
them.
Morocco. Going to 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven was, Alan knows this. We went there. It was probably on the weekends, I think mostly, but we'd go there late at night, get some sort of bag of chips and a huge sugary drink, and then we'd go back and watch movies or something. Those are the days.
And they used to have video games there.
That's true. They had like, what are they called? Arcade games?
Yes. They had the original Vector Star Wars arcade game.
Oh, cool.
And I played that.
Which one?
so
Which location
much.
was that?
That
Do you
was the one
remember?
on Cary.
So the one over, okay, cool.
On Cary Road in Tillicum. And yeah, so they had the Star Wars Vector game. They had it there for a few years. And then they had also Mike Tyson's Punch Out. And or it wasn't maybe Mike Tyson. It was some sort of
It was a game called Punch Out, and I've
Yeah.
told you this story 100 times.
Yeah.
My sister playing it, so yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I always went for the Star Wars one. It was a stand-up one. It had like the the joystick thing and yeah.
That's one of my favorite games.
Oh, it is my all-time favorite arcade game. And I have it for my phone. I have it on the computer and everything, and it just doesn't measure up unless you have like the special controller and everything, the yoke. It just doesn't work.
I think that was probably part of the reason I loved it so much, because I thought the controls were awesome.
Yeah, that was also in what's the one I'm trying to think of here? They had the stand up, but they also had the sit down one, I think. They also could sit down and play that game.
Johnny Z's had the sit down one.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. So I just went on eBay and I just searched for Star Wars Arcade. You can get it for between $5,000 and $6,000 US.
Oh,
yes.
So it is still available.
So I mean, if you guys want to get me something for Christmas,
yeah, like I would love you forever. Here you go. So the 1983 artery. artery. Now it's artery. Wow. I smell burning toast. 1983 Atari Star Wars Video Arcade has been apparently in a private collection, according to this. Pristine and excellent condition. So there you go. So it's in New York. If we want to go get it, we better start driving now because it's quite a ways away. I'm assuming this is the stand-up. Yeah, it's a stand-up arcade, but it has the special controller and everything. So
awesome.
Oh my god, that's so awesome. I totally want one. I want one now. Like of all the things in that, now I must have it now. I didn't need it 10 minutes ago.
This is like, if I had one of these, it would mean that I am finally a success in life. Not the fact that I'm married, not the fact that I've got 3 great kids or anything like that, own property or anything like that. It's whether I have this video game in my house. If I've got this arcade unit, I'm a success in life.
I just did a look around for other arcades here, and there's a company in, where is this? They're in Belgium. They ship worldwide, but they do vintage restoration of arcade game cabinets, decals. So if you build the cabinet yourself, you build a brand new one, they actually can ship you the decals, like the full-on high, cabinet things, and you can actually decorate the whole thing with what the artwork was on at the time. So wow, that's awesome. Now I did actually also find a Atari Star Wars Arcade flight controller, the yoke, like the actual, just that piece. You can buy those for like $100. Again, restored kind of thing. The stickers are shot to hell, but if you contact that company in Belgium for $100, you can put brand new stickers on. So there you go. Where's this yoke? This yoke is in San Diego right now. So it's got the whole.
Let's go. Road trip.
It looks like it's been well used, like it's well loved, but now
apparently Cherry Bomb Toys here in Victoria has tried to start up its own arcade. They do have some arcade machines there, yes, and apparently the Star Wars Vector game is one of them.
Ooh. I'd go for that.
I don't know that it works though. I follow them on Facebook, and I believe that they said that it wasn't working and it was going to cost too much to get it operable. So, but there is one in Victoria.
Interesting.
It may even be the one that I used to play at 7-Eleven.
To be honest, they don't travel far because they're kind of big, heavy things. I mean, there's a dude on YouTube that has his own website somewhere else as well, called which you probably know him, the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And he did this video a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, about this video game that is supposedly fake, called, like, I don't know, starts with a P, like Penumbra or something. So anyway, the whole thing that's that's wrapped around this game is that it was supposedly created by the CIA to, pull like some sort of mental experiment upon the populace. So he talks a little bit about it, and then the companion video to it is a video game warehouse, like an arcade warehouse. So you actually go to this place, and it has working arcade games that people can buy, the cabinets and everything. Anyway, this game is apparently there, and then he plays it, and I recommend checking it out. It's hilarious, creepy as well, because it's done very well. Where it basically, drives him mad. The game won't let him leave anymore. He keeps wanting him to keep playing, and he slowly goes insane. But yeah, I do recommend checking it out. And the Star Wars video game sure is out there somewhere that we can get it and have it working and be able to play it until we die. Because that's what it's gonna take. I'm not going out of this world alone. I'm going out with you guys, and we're going to be playing Star Wars Arcade 23 hours a day. The 24th hour, that's eating and pooping. And then we go back and we play until we have to poop again. That's how the world works. Star Wars and nothing else but a little eating and pooping. Because, you know, and maybe beer drinking too. But that might happen when we're playing, so that's okay. Because that's how the world works, man. That's how the world is indifferent. The universe doesn't give a shit about us, man. So you just do what you want to do, man. Because, you know, if you don't, you're gonna totally fall out of the moon tower, man, and hit your head on every rung all the way down. Ow! Stupid microphone.
We're the aliens. We're the savage.
We're the savages, man. I watched a clip from that somewhere like randomly a few weeks ago, and I really want to watch it again. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've lived in 1976. Oh, I know what it was. It was about Ben Affleck and his career. I'm so sad. So I have one more little story that I want to just touch on very briefly because we've been going on for a while tonight. Does the craft beer definition go down the drain when a smaller brewery sells to a larger brewery? Now, in this case, there is a Boulder, Colorado company called Avery Brewing, and they have now given up 30%, given a 30% stake to a Spanish brewing giant. So people, of course, are saying now that they are no longer considered to be a craft brewery because they have basically sold out. Do you guys feel this way?
Yeah.
No.
I've long since said that craft beer made by a large company is not craft beer.
Dave?
I'm saying no.
Really? I wasn't actually expecting that. Tell me more, Dave.
Well, okay, sure, 30% stake. What does that mean? We have no idea. Are they hands-on? Are they silent partners? What's the deal? Right?
I'm looking it up. I'll tell you in a second.
Probably.
Okay, so here's the official definition. Let's clarify this. A small brewery has an annual production of 6 million barrels of beer or less. Approximately 3% of annual sales in the U.S. Beer production is attributed to the rules of alternating proprietorships. Independent breweries are less than 25% of the craft is owned or controlled by by another party. And a traditional brewery, which I guess is sort of the big boys, where a majority of their alcohol volume is derived from somebody else. So I don't know. I guess you're right.
But by that
right,
definition, it's no longer craft, as Alan says, because 25%. And these guys own 30%, right?
Yes.
I guess. I mean, yeah, I think so.
But if they're hands-off silent partner, what's different? Other than the fact that they're getting some cash flow out of somebody else.
I would have to agree with that. I mean, I don't have a problem with other companies investing in larger companies investing in smaller ones.
As long as they're hands-off.
But yeah, I mean, it depends on how much involvement they have. I mean, at 30%, you probably have some involvement, but probably not the actual brewing or the, telling people off. They probably just let them do their thing. But again,
I would hope so.
I don't know.
I know that's not usually the
it
reality.
begs the question of whether that is actually true. And I think that the people who own that brewery who sold the 30% to that Spanish company, say in the article basically, suck it. We're still a craft brewery, and I'm not here to please you. I'm here to make a decent product and get it to the masses. So
yeah,
there you go.
Mm.
So basically, Dave, well thought out. Alan, suck it. would be their response to all three of us. So anyway, we've been going at it a while. You got anything else to say, boys?
Not me.
Hildegard is the beer tonight from Driftwood Brewery. It's an ESB. We like it.
Yes.
It packs a punch, makes my glass sound really awesome. But overall, yeah, I gotta say, it is very much a bitter, and I enjoyed it.
Good.
I do
Okay.
recommend checking it out. I will point out it's no longer in BC liquor stores. Don't know why. Very strange. So there you go. Alan, take us out.
Oh.
We're all gonna die.
The audience is a little bit late. That's okay. Here they go. Here we go. Here we
They've
go.
all been having
Bye,
their own
Dave.
Hildegards.
Say bye, Dave.
Peace.